Good afternoon, folks, on a weird Friday afternoon with another episode of the ARCA Racing podcast, but it's a little different this time. Obviously, this is not Wednesday, the day of my usual show. This is Friday. Hope you guys are going to enjoy your weekend, but we have a lot of news on the table that I just could not pass up the opportunity to get another show in. So this is kind of a special show, ARCA Racing podcast, Backmarker battles mixed together. Basically, it's called ARCA Racing Backmarker News. We'll be doing something like this throughout the offseason when ARCA Racing and Backmarker News kind of come together. But I thought it would just be a lot of fun for you guys to, hear some news about some Backmarker racing teams while also hearing some marker news at the same time. So let's get into the usual intro. I'm Colby Evans. Follow me at Start and Park Car. Follow Brad Smith on Twitter. Follow ARCA Racing on Twitter. And follow my good buddy Brock Beard on Twitter as well. So let's get into it, man. The 2022 East-West schedules were released today, and some good surprises. Some new tracks, pretty much a lot of the same stuff, and kind of what we figured. But, it's okay. When it comes to the East and West schedules, you're not going in expecting like 20 races, and that's okay. I think, the East Series being as long as it is and the West Series being as long as it is, so it's okay. I wish the West Series, with how good the West Series was this year in terms of getting car counts, I really wish the West Series could have gotten maybe 2 to 3 more races. About a 14-race season, I feel like should be the cap for the West Series. As for the East Series, me and a lot of other people have been very hard on the series because their standalone races had just barely pulled 13 cars. And, but I understand the will to have an East competition race, but hopefully eventually the East Series will merge into the main series because it's just not doing too good right now, sadly. But nonetheless, we'll start off with the East Series. If you guys hear some talking in the background, that's just my mom. Just right there. If you hear any talking in the background, it's my mom on the phone. But the 2022 schedule for East will have just 7 races, 1 race smaller than last year. And it'll basically kind of follow the same format. No new tracks on the East schedule, We're starting off the season at New Smyrna, which basically is the start to Speed Week at Daytona. My father and I actually went to this race last year, technically this year because it's still 2021, and we had a good time. New Smyrna Speedway is a very, very fun racetrack, and we enjoyed the race. We enjoyed the one heck of a finish with Max Gutierrez winning that race, but it was kind of fun watching the East Series guys, duke it on that little short track. New Smyrna is always a fun track, and it's a great way to start Speed Week. I just wish, we had some guys who could run the race at New Smyrna and then be at Daytona, because we saw with only 16 cars this year was not the best turnout, and the race itself it's okay, but outside of that Grace finish was nothing special. I think the car count actually hurt it, but still, New Smyrna is a great track. I wished it was on the main schedule. You got to believe, I know it would be a little bit of a haul for those ARCA teams, but it'd be kind of fun if, the main series and East Series could run at New Smyrna that Tuesday and then run at Daytona that Friday. I think that would be personally entertaining, but that's just my take. Up next is Five Flags Speedway, Pensacola. I believe that is the track where they host the Snowball Derby. Again, another fun track. I just think that one thing that hurts the racing there for ARCA is just, again, slow car counts. I think we had, 13 cars there, and, one of them was Wayne. And, of course, the other one was the Hillenburg starting park. So right there, you're already down to 11. Hopefully it's not going to be that bad. But, again, Five Flags is a track that produces good racing. You just need to have a decent-sized field there to obviously put on a good race. And, I'm curious on how many cars will be there. And hopefully it's a little better than 13. But I think, again, Five Flags is a good choice to have as a track on the East Circuit. Dover, this one has been around there for a long time. It's actually probably one of the stronger standalone East races because it's not affiliated with the actual main ARCA series, but a lot of main ARCA teams actually show up for this one because for some strange reason, the ARCA race at Dover pays so well. It was $6,000 for 10th place, when in a normal ARCA race, 6 for 10th place would probably pay $1,400. For some strange reason, you want to run that Dover race because it pays so much for ARCA payouts. And I love it. Gives more incentive to run, obviously. Then we got the Nashville Fairgrounds, which, in my opinion, what would be kind of fun, and I know they probably wouldn't want to share the track because, the big series would be there, but it would be cool if ARCA East could share that race with the SRX series. It would probably give some more people in the show and some more compliments to the show. But it would be a lot of fun to have ARCA East share the weekend with SRX there. But I mean, at the same time, you could see like Tony would not want them there because at the same time, they want all the focus on SRX. They want nobody else in the paddock focusing on anything else. And I could see that. I could see that happening. But at the same time, it'd be really cool to have the ARCA series and then SRX. That would give it a big, huge feel. But at the same time, what are you going to do? They got 2 different dates, obviously. But hopefully SRX does come back to the fairgrounds again next year. So that's Nashville Fairgrounds. And then the last 3 races of the season are kind of the same. They are pretty much the same as last year. They're combo races. We got Iowa, Milwaukee, and then, of course, the same finale as this year, and that was Bristol. All combination races, which should improve the car count by at least 10 to 15 cars. We had 23 or 4 at Iowa. We had 24 at Milwaukee, and I think we had almost 30 or just over 30 at Bristol. So obviously it did improve the car count dramatically. But yeah, I think it'll produce good racing. We just need at least, I would say, 15 to 20 cars. We can't have 13 like we did this year. Hopefully with COVID, COVID on more of a going away stretch, the ARCA fields will go up a little bit, but by East standards and East payouts, it's definitely only time we'll be able to tell that. That is for sure. But as for the East Series, the writing's kind of on the wall. I think there's still a lot of potential in the series, but only running 7 races a year, and 3 of them are with the main series. How is your series supposed to stand out? How are you supposed to have your own superstars in that series if you're only having 4 main races? And that's why I could easily believe that the East Series alone will not be there for maybe another 2 to 3 years before they finally merge it into just the main series alone, which they should do already. Either way, I think it's a solid schedule. Be interested to see how many full-time drivers are there. I think this year we only had about 6. Hopefully it's at least the same, and we can go into 2022 with a little bit better championship battle than we did coming in this year. Moving on to the West Circuit, a little bit bigger schedule. We only had 9 races this season, which again is a little sad because the West Series put on some amazing races this year. I would almost say that the West Series was actually more entertaining than the main series. The West Series absolutely killed it this year in terms of entertainment. Their races were so good, so many battles, and the fight from 10th to 1st was so close. In my opinion, the West Series was the best series of ARCA this season. And that's not taking anything away from the main series. That was entertaining too. But in terms of winner ratio, dominance, and just overall battles, the West Series by far was the best series of ARCA in 2021. I'm happy that they're going to have they're having 11 races. I think that, again, that's a decent sized schedule for them. I wish they could get that at least up to 14. Does make me also happy that they're only having one combo race with ARCA, and that's the Phoenix race in March, which is a smart idea because that's a good way to start your championship off. But they will start, like I said, off in Phoenix with that combo race. Hopefully, they won't demolish the field on the first lap like they did back in earlier this year. Then we got Irwindale. Irwindale will actually have 2 days. It'll be the second race of the season and the 6th race of the season. Ironically enough, the 6th race, the second trip to Irwindale, will be taking place on my birthday, July 2nd. So that's kind of fun. We have the return of Kern County Raceway. Yes. Kern County is a really, really fun short track, and it fits the West Series perfectly. If we could get some of those 23, 25-car fields for the West Series on Kern County, oh, what a show that would bring. Definitely would bring a good show. So hopefully Kern County can get a good car count. In my opinion, one of the most unsung road courses on the circuit this year for all of racing was the Portland circuit. And despite not getting a huge car count for that race, the Portland race this year was very, very entertaining. We saw a very, very controversial finish in which I still believe Jake Drew got screwed out of that win. And if he had not gotten screwed out of that win, Jake Drew would have been your ARCA West champion. Let's think about that. But not only will ARCA be going to Portland once, they will be going to Portland twice. Now, I don't know if this conflicts with the Xfinity Series date, but I do hope it does. Because, again, it would be nice to see ARCA get some limelight shed on them with the big Xfinity Series coming in. We'd get a bigger crowd. We get more, like I said, bigger crowd, bigger hype. So I really hope that either the first or second date at Portland does involve the Xfinity Series in some type of fashion. But it'll be the 4th and the 8th race this season. You could kind of believe that one of the Portland races has taken over the date of the Tuleel track, the Utah Motorsports campus track, which is also a fun road course in its own right. But I think we can kind of agree Portland's a little better, but it would be nice to see him go back to the Utah Motorsport road course. Of course, Sonoma always puts on a good show, always gets a good field too. Sonoma West Race always puts on a good show. Can't wait. Hopefully Dale Quarterly will be back again. Never really puts on bad race. We've seen some, hopefully we'll see like usual, some cup drivers running who haven't been to Sonoma before. Let's see here. Who's running? Can't really think off the top of my head. Who would be running at Sonoma next year for Cup that hasn't been there before? Man, I can't think of it right now, but we also have the Truck Series going there as well. So full weekend of there at Sonoma next year, but still believe that K&N West, okay, oh my God, look at me, K&N West, ARCA West will be putting on a better show than the Cup Series, which it actually has been doing the last couple of years. The last couple of times that the West Circuit went to Sonoma, they've actually been having way more entertaining races than the Cup cars, which is actually kind of funny. Like I said before, the second trip to Irwindale. Irwindale is always the premier track for the West Circuit. Fun races. One of the few tracks where the high line is actually kind of the preferred line. And those tracks like that I really like because it really puts it into the driver's skill and not just bump and run. It really comes down to handling and who has a good car. Evergreen. It's been a couple of years since we've seen the Evergreen track. I don't really know much about it. I haven't seen many races personally from that track. I do know it's another little short track. Did Deegan win it? Is that one of Deegan's? I feel like Deegan won at one of those tracks. Someone probably correct me, but I think that was one of her 3 wins. Again, I don't know for sure, but I want to say that was her 3rd win. It was one of those tracks. I don't remember for sure, but either way, another fun short track, perfect for the West Circuit. Although I should do more research on Evergreen myself. Like I said, the 8th race of the season will be at Portland. Already went over that. Good choice. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully both Portland races have good finishes next season, just not as controversial as we saw this year when we saw a guy clearly get screwed out of a win. All-American Speedway. We saw PJ Pedroncelli win this year, so let's see him win there next year. I love PJ. I want to get him on the show. But All-American always puts on a good show because it's just so tiny. It's good. The racing is so tight there. I think it's one of the few tracks where I feel like the way that it's just laid out is just a little different than every other short track. And from first to like 10th could win there because it's just that tiny. That's why I like All-American so much. And I think PJ could easily win 2 there next year, and I hope he does. I'm already calling it next year. PJ is going to win. That's because I like to call it. But, yeah. So, obviously, with Las Vegas and Kansas switching dates, not surprising to see that the Las Vegas Bull Ring is now flipped from September to October and is basically taking the second to last spot of the race of the season. As we've seen before, Las Vegas Bull Ring, perfect track. Still don't know why they don't take the Truck Series there. It's a track that's just perfect. It's got plenty of banking. It's got plenty of room. Crashes there. Exciting finishes again. Short tracks galore. That's what makes this series so much fun. And then I feel like for the finale, it's same as a couple years. It's Phoenix again. But Phoenix for the West Series, especially from what we've seen the last 2 years, in terms of having a championship race at a track that really tests drivers' ability and the will to win a championship, I feel like that really embodies the West Series, a track like Phoenix, because it's so much bigger than what they're used to doing. It really makes these teams work, not just setting up for a short track. You're setting up for a 1 mile, very fast-paced 1 mile track, which requires a lot of handling and a lot of grip off the corners. So you really got to fight the handling on your car perfectly. And that's why I feel like that track suits the West Circuit so much, because those cars aren't as stable, as Cup cars or Xfinity cars or trucks. They're all over the place. They're very loose. The average West car is just wicked loose all the time. But seeing that race a couple weeks ago really saw like those guys were struggling. They were fighting. They were clawing for every lap. And I think that really embodies the West Series because it's a perfect track for guys like that to really show their talent, not just bumping each other out of the way on short tracks, but on a big track, really seeing who's got the more muscle under the hood and on the wheel. So I think Phoenix is a perfect way to end the West Circuit again. So East Circuit is Bristol. West Circuit is Phoenix. I think both schedules are a lot of fun. Very disappointed. I'm going to just add, I'm very disappointed that Iowa is not on the West Circuit. I think we could have really benefited from an East-West combo race at Iowa. We would have had probably a 40-car field, but that's just me fantasy booking because I'm an Iowa native and, I want to see them come back. But anyway, the two schedules, a lot of fun. Hopefully we can keep the car counts up. And I'll be right here. For main series, ARCA, East and West, I'll be right here covering all of them. So that will be definitely a lot of fun. So transitioning now into the backmarker portion of the show. Give me 1 second, guys. Oh, sorry. We have some backmarker news that Alpha Prime Racing, the former Martin's Motorsports team, looks like they will be fielding a second part-time entry in 2022. Obviously not full-time. They don't have the funding for that. But at select races and such as maybe, I would have to guess, the road courses, plate tracks, and selected short tracks. You won't see them probably enter this car at a track like Michigan. Really wouldn't make much sense to enter at a track like Michigan or Homestead or any random 1.5 milers. But who's going to drive the car is the question, especially on the road courses. Will it be road ringers, such as like maybe IMSA or Trans Am drivers? Will we see Tommy Joe run the second part-time car at some point? Will Raja's schedule get extended in the second part-time entry? As for the number, it's not even been announced yet. I don't think anyone has the number 45. In Xfinity, I don't believe so. So if they want to just go 44 and 45, what I feel like would kind of be a fun number is the double zero. Is the double zero open in Xfinity? Because if it is, I would actually like to see the double zero over at Tommy Joe Martin's team. The double zero or the 33. I just like the same digit double numbers, like 44, 55, 66, 77. I like all those numbers. So it'd be cool, like if they could get like a double number, like, or like BJ runs a 99, but yeah. So I would either say the number would be 45 or double zero. I'd like to see him run double zero because I love that number, or zero, just zero. Cause I like that. I think number zero just looks so cool in a race car. But yeah, definitely congrats to Alpha Prime Racing for having the funding for a second team. Definitely for say we will see these guys at the plate tracks because Caesar's deal for the 44s, he'll probably run the 44 at the plate tracks, and they want to give probably someone else an opportunity to run races at those plate tracks in general, along with Caesar, and have a two-car effort. As for drivers, again, unless we see some, we'll probably see some definitely within the next couple of months, but obviously I got nothing right now because all the main drivers I could just see driving the 44. But I definitely could see Tommy, them creating that second part-time entry for Tommy for a couple of races because at the end of the day, he doesn't want to step away forever. He's just going to step away from full-time down to part-time. But still some big news out there for Alpha Prime Racing, and I'm very, very excited for them, proud of them that they can expand like this, and I wish them nothing but the best in the future. Moving on to our second to last story. Everybody remember H2 Motorsports? The video that Slap Shoes on Twitter, on YouTube put out, the thieves, worst sponsors, worst drivers thing. Absolutely fun video. Strongly suggest you guys should check those out. Well, his latest one featured a segment based off of H2 Motorsports and how it was all a whole cluster F to beginning. It was not good. But I was actually there for their first race at Iowa in the Circuit City machine. I was there. In fact, our car, the team I was working with there, the MBM team, the 2018 was actually right next to us in the garage here. So that was kind of fun. And it was just weird seeing Circuit City back like that. And just everyone in the back of their minds kind of figured something's got to be up here. And well, sure enough, something was. I don't want to get into the details, but team owner Matt Hurley, it's best we just don't speak of his name in NASCAR ever. And the whole, how it left Shane Lee without a ride. And then it's kind of funny. It's like mysteriously, I think it was about, 4 or 5 months ago, Shane Lee tweeted out a picture of him, of the picture, basically everything that H2 had, from a pit box to a cooler cart to a drink cart to pit signs. Basically everything from the H2 facility was just sitting in this race shop. He had finally, I guess, acquired it in some way. And even Brockbeard on Twitter back in early 2020 at the Fontana race in 2020 tweeted out a picture of the H2 Motorsports hauler being used as a swap-out hauler. We never got confirmation for which team it was for, but it really showed that although the team was gone, it really wasn't, because the equipment and the hauler were still out there. It just was not owned by Matt Hurley anymore. But now we learned today that Joey Gase, yes, Joey Gase, will be starting his own Xfinity team full-time next year in 2022. I could see him running all three, maybe primarily Fords, but I could see him running Toyotas and Chevrolets at specific tracks. And this basically pretty much includes all the assets of H2 Motorsports: the hauler, the pit box, drink cart, cooler cart, and anything else that would come along with that. And all I can say is congratulations. A lot of people don't like Joey Gase, and I think he just hasn't been in the right ride. A lot of people sour on Joey Gase, but I really point to his 2018 season at SS Greenlight Go Green Racing. He did very, very well in those cars. He had his moments. I understand that people like to laugh at him about, but I think he did a good job. And I don't think people should write this team off as a 35th place team every week. I doubt that. I could easily see Joey being a top 25 team every week. And definitely a team that will be able to cover on backmarker battles every week. But I wonder if, kind of risky for Joey going into Daytona next season with no owner points. And will he buy owner points is the question, but no owner points right now. And he's got to more than likely make the show on time. But either way, very congratulations to Joey Gase Racing. Glad he got the sponsorship lined up, and glad that we're being able to see the H2 Motorsports stuff being put to good use after the previous owner was an absolute douche. So very much congratulations to Joey Gase and his wife and his family for now having their own team. And don't sleep on Joey. I think he'll do a good job next year. And I wish him nothing but the best. Moving into our final story of the day, we have qualifying back. And this is something that I'm just so happy is back full-time next year. Practice, not every race, but I'm just happy qualifying's at every race. That's all I asked for. Now, NASCAR had to go out there and make a weird format for qualifying, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just happy qualifying is back and everybody gets an equal chance to qualify, because that's all I ever wanted. I don't like talking about that $4,500 crap with the 4 cars last season. But I do believe that they realize that the lack of starting parks is gone. Not the lack, but the overabundance on starting parks is practically gone by this point. So I do think Xfinity should raise the field to at least 38, or else we'll be averaging 6 DNQs a race with how big the Xfinity field is looking to be next year. And I don't want that to happen. But I really hope that, and same thing with truck, raise the truck fields. Well, actually, I mean, they're still at 36, but I would say raise the truck fields to maybe 38 if you could, because, the truck series has been getting a huge influx of teams as well. But it's good to hear that. I'm not going to get into the whole situation because it's kind of really hard to explain, but let's just say that it follows the format for the usual qualifying, despite the formats. The top 31 will make the show on speed, and then, of course, you'll have your 5 provisionals. That's for right now. Same thing with truck. Your top 31 in speed will make the race, and then you'll have your 5 provisionals. But for some reason, they're doing it in 2 groups of qualifying. Again, this format's a little complicated, but that I know is probably for sure. The top 31 is the goal to beat to be able to race. And then, of course, you have your 5 provisionals. But hopefully they get extended to 38 because I want the more the merrier, But would I like to see practice back full-time? Yes, but we've proven that we really don't need it as much, so that's understandable. Can't do nothing about it. But either way, qualifying is back for every race season, guaranteed. Does point a picture, though. Does this hurt guys and gals like Jennifer, Joe, and Norm for the truck side? And we've seen at races where they have to qualify, teams like Harmon, Jimmy Means, and Carl Long really struggle. What does this mean for them next year? Does it force them to step up their equipment? Yes, I mean, in some ways it does. Now, obviously, I'm a huge fan of all 3 of those teams. But for all those 5 teams I just mentioned, it's kind of a wake-up call, like, crap. A lot of competitive teams in this series. We gotta get our stuff together. But I think they'll be able to handle it. All those guys and gal have been in the business long enough. They know what kind of business decisions to make to get themselves rolling. But again, it'll be interesting to see what all will go down next year with qualifying. But right now I can confirm there will be no more $4,500 race cars running out there every week, and no more $3,500 trucks running out there every week. And frankly, that to me is a good thing. We should not have teams running out there with only $4,500 in purse money. That's stupid. It's unnecessary. And it never even had to happen in the first place. I get you wanted to allow these teams to run, but having that caveat, that's just kind of a dick move. But either way, qualifying is back for all 3 series. Cup is the same, but the owner points there. It's not only on provisionals. When it comes to the charter system, of course, we know it's the fastest 4 that lock in on qualifying. So if there was a point where we had 41, 42 cars, it would just be simply the fastest 4. And that's why I kind of wish that the Xfinity and Truck Series, it would simply be the fastest 36 that get in. Because so many times have teams like Mike Harmon, I've been throwing Morgan Shepherd in the past, Carl Long, and Jimmy Means, they've been in the fastest 36, but they haven't had the provisionals to make the race. That's what bothers me. But, hey, I'm not going to argue too much about it. We have qualifying back next year. We got some new teams coming in. I'm just, for all the nonsense that's been going on with the next gen car lately and all the arguments, this and that online, I'm trying to, I don't want to get into that. I just want to let people, bitch and moan about that online about themselves. I'm just trying to stay out of that. The next gen car, to me though, I really grown on the next gen cars. It looks cool. I'm not gonna lie about that, but that's all I'm gonna say about that next gen stuff. I'm just gonna let people argue about that online like they do best. But I'm gonna put more of my focus into the Xfinity series, and I just love that we have more backmarker teams coming into this series. Best of luck to Joey Gase. Best of luck to Alpha Prime Racing. Best of luck to all the ARCA East and West competitors. Can't wait to see you guys in 2022. And as for this debut episode of Starting Park stuff, but ARCA Racing and Backmarker News, hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's ride off this weekend good. Enjoy the rest of this episode. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Sorry, guys. And we'll catch you next Wednesday with the 2008 Toledo review of the ARCA Racing podcast. We'll see you then, guys. So long.